you're seeking God, but you're not acting in the way that the scriptures tell you to act. And I'm pretty sure if the energy that embodied Mohammed and Christ and Buddha and Krishna, which is all one in the same energy to me, was here today to speak to you, it would tell you to stop. It would tell you to go inside yourself. It would tell you to find love first. Hey everyone, so I just finished my day in the life video and the camera's out, and I feel an urge to speak about something, so I'm going to. And it's only going to, hopefully, I always say that, it's going to take me not long, I hope. And I want to say why it is that I do my Bible musings. So as I speak about in there, you have alternate states of consciousness. Earth, water, air, fire, new mind, beta, alpha, theta. The reason I speak about it is in the hope that, as with myself, people have an opportunity to lift up out of the earth stage of consciousness, the lower levels of consciousness. Now, before I understood this knowledge, I had a lot of issues with literal religion because I couldn't lift up into that place. Now I know people who take religion literally and they can lift up out of that place, because you don't need to know how a computer works to sit and use it. So the same way, you don't have to know esoterics, you don't have to understand the spiritual body to know how to use the spiritual body. You don't need to know about the chakra systems or your psychological centers, you don't need to know about the pineal. You can work out how to do that without understanding what's going on. And that's evident. Because for all I'm an esoteric person when it comes to scripture like the Bible and Bhagavad Gita and stuff like this, I work side by side with people who take the Bible literally. But they are still able to lift up out of their carnal mind. So my esoterics predominantly, it's for those who are keen and interested like I find it thoroughly interesting that this information existed all that time ago. But it's also for people, I hope, who like me were struggling and were stuck inside the carnal aspect of consciousness. And hopefully they can raise up out of there. Instead of having all these fears related to literal religious translation, like the end of the world and, you know, this Armageddon and all this stuff, which is merely about the battle of the right hemisphere overcoming the left, as I touch on in my videos anyway. I don't want to get into doing allegories and interpretations of them in this. I just want to speak about why I do it. And my hope is that people can lift up from there and start getting out and doing what they want to do and become liberated of that carnal mind. And their hunger for God has led them to religion. But unfortunately, a lot of the time, the fear that a lot of different religious translations bring to them keeps them away from God. And I don't care how you interpret it. If you interpret literally, if you interpret esoterically, if you had a completely different interpretation, that's fine. But as long as you're doing what Christ told you to do, if you're putting love first, like Yeshua, Jesus, taught, then that's great. But if you're, in the name of religion, angry and anxious and condemning other people and condemning other religions and other faiths, then you're not doing anything Jesus told you to do. And this is where you need to raise up out of your carnal mind to meet Jesus in the air, in the level of consciousness beyond earth, which is air. You need to do that. Otherwise, you're going to keep destroying something beautiful. The beautiful teachings of a loving, caring human being being completely destroyed and just made a mockery of by people who have not understood it and who are condemning people. Condemning all different types of things. And I found this evident in the first ever Bible allegory video I did on the internet. The Christians didn't challenge the allegories among you. The Christians the most common comment was my comment on alcohol. That was the thing they wanted to defend. That, of course, Jesus drank alcohol, when it's not the case. It's just not the case. Wine around Jesus was always regarding being drunk on the Spirit, and in other occasions when it was literally written as drinking a grape juice. In Hebrew there are several words for wine, and it was never the fermented version around Jesus. So this is what I mean. People are using religion to justify the fact they drink alcohol. It's fine, drink alcohol if you want to drink alcohol, but don't use the teachings of Christ to justify it. It's blasphemy. It's blasphemy. And don't use the teachings of Christ to condemn other people on the planet. It's blasphemy. It's not Christ-like. And you're supposed to be like Christ. He told you that his kingdom is not going to come to this earth. His kingdom is within you. And he told you can do greater works than he, for he's gone to the Father. Be like Christ. Aim to be like him. Set your intention to be like Christ. Be like Krishna. Do that. Find love in your heart. Open your heart chakra. Raise yourself up. Commune with God. Don't commune with God with your carnal mind and start being angry and condemning people and just making people's skin crawl. I've got no time for armchair preachers who don't do what Jesus taught. I'm sorry. I don't. But I do have time for you in the sense that I can offer you, while you're in that mode of arguing and being bitter at somebody who's trying to live a life as Christ taught and telling him that he's going to go to hell and all this stuff. I don't have time for you. But I do have time for you as a human being who might want to raise up out of there and join me in the higher levels of consciousness in meditation, in the more loving aspect of human nature. From the right hemisphere of the brain, the promised land is in the east, the right hand of God. The wise men, the magi come from the east, the astrologers, the men of wisdom come from the east. Yeah, the very thing the Bible condemns all of a sudden is the messenger for Jesus' birth. Think about it. Think about it. Astrology and stuff. The magi, magic, anyway. So, that's what I want to put out there, because my message is based in sharing. And it's about, I often mention the fact, the West and where I am, but it's not just about that. I have a good go at people in Tanzania who have money to share as well. They are not as frequent by any measure as what they are in the West. But I tell people here, even if they have a little bit more than the next person, they need to share with them. I do that. Someone living in a brick house and someone living in a mud house that's falling down around them, I'll say to them, can you help them? Do you have the means to help them? Just a little bit, and a lot of the time they will. So I promote sharing on every level. It's not about the West and Africa. It's about humanity, sharing with one another. And that's what it's about. It's about sharing. And when so many people are preaching the word of Jesus and Buddha and Krishna and Muhammad and even further afield Jainism and stuff like that, and they're not living as those teachers taught, then what's gone wrong? You're seeking God, but you're not acting in the way that the scriptures tell you to act. And I'm pretty sure if the energy that embodied Muhammad and Christ and Buddha and Krishna, which is all one in the same energy to me, was here today to speak to you, it would tell you to stop. It would tell you to go inside yourself. It would tell you to find love first. Because that's the core of all these teachings. Regardless of when a man's penned in something that makes no sense or something that suits a man's ideals, the core teachings of the messiahs of each religion was of tolerance, love, and compassion. If you're not putting that first, religion has failed you, or your interpretation of religion has failed you. So please, don't argue with me about the interpretation of the Bible. If you want to stand next to me as a literal interpretation of the Bible that believes in these things literally, that there was a talking, fine, it doesn't bother me, that's fine. As long as you do what Christ told you to do. And if you're not doing that, stop preaching in Christ's name until you are. And if you're not doing that, find a way to do it with the literal interpretation. The friends I have that do that follow the interpretation. They fast in things which alters your state of consciousness, your brain cycles. Because Christ never said if, he said when you fast. So if you're a Christian and you need to alter your state of consciousness, of course, maybe having one meal a day, allow you to do that in meditation. Even Daniel in the Bible ate a vegan diet for 3 weeks so as he could understand God. I'm a permanent vegan. Many vegans are connected in the higher realms of consciousness. You can do that too. You don't have to go through deprivation. You can just eat as a vegan, as Daniel in the Bible did. Do that. Do as the teachings tell you to do. Stop ruining a beautiful book with anger and fear. Stop spreading that stuff. It doesn't help anyone. And when someone like me, I feel I have a qualification to speak. I'm living the way Christ told us to live. I'm learning as I go. But I'm doing what he taught us to do. How can you then tell me that I'm going to hell? That I'm in trouble? That I need to watch what I'm doing? I worry about you. And for those of you who do take from my esoterics what I hope you can, for those of you who are not, I suggest you take it as I've said. If you want to tell me a literal story, I'll listen. Listen to the esoterics. The Bible is written on many, many levels, and it'll speak to all levels of consciousness. As long as love is coming out of you, as long as the want to end suffering, to fix the problems, the wars of the planet is coming out of you from your spiritual pursuit, if that's the path you've chosen, if you're choosing a spiritual path, then don't let it be based around fear and around anxiety and negative emotions. So that's all I wanted to say anyway. We have a duty as humanity to help one another and to share. And you can find that message in most scriptures. It's more predominant in others, but charity and sharing and caring and love is in all of them. We have a duty as mankind to offer that. You know, it doesn't mean you all have to run off and do what I did. I actually mentioned in a video I did the other day, and I'll mention it again, there are so many different paths. We need people who are business people. Without them, I wouldn't have the medication to help the cerebral palsy children. I wouldn't have a mattress even, because the concept of building a mattress, manufacturing a mattress wouldn't be there. So things would be immeasurably different for these children. Yeah, the t-shirts, everything. We need business people on the planet. If that's what you're expressing, that's what you're expressing. But if you're pursuing spirituality, then don't defile God with anger and condemnation. Don't defile consciousness with that. Be love first. If it's not loving, if you're trying to scare somebody to bring them back down to your carnal mind to say, oh, don't go up there, come back down here. Take a breather and look at what you're doing. There are many paths to God, many, but none of them are fear and anger. Not one. I guarantee it. And there are many paths of service, and none of them are fear and anger. But as I've just mentioned, they can be as I do, serving others, or they can be as a healer in the West, they can be as a teacher in the West, they can be as a business person, they can be as a mother, as a father. Is that not actually probably the biggest spiritual journey of all, to be a parent? Most of us watching this are parents, or will be parents at some point. So I'm not a parent as such, but I get called father to the animals and father to the children here, so I might not be a biological parent, but I certainly feel in my heart that I've become one. So that's all I want to say. Stop condemning each other. Stop condemning me for the way I read something. As long as if you want to stand next to me and preach a literal gospel, you can do that, as long as you're doing the work of Christ. But if you're just sitting at home getting angry and saying, well, no, Jesus is coming to save you and you're going to hell because of this, people like that, with that attitude, you're like a million miles away from what I call God. And I wish you'd make an effort to come and join me in the place that I do call God. Which, as I say, if you need science, it's the scientific state of theta, ultimately, in your mind. If you speak in esoterics, it's a higher level of consciousness. It's an altered brain cycle. And if you can do that, then you can raise yourself up in meditation and you can get a break from yourself. And then the idea of being like Christ in your actions is not so difficult, because you can change the brain cycles and you can become peaceful, more at peace with yourself, your surroundings, and your anxiety and your fears and your anger go. You can start to understand spiritual texts from a spiritual place within your body instead of a very grounded intellectual place, because this is where the trouble arises. And you can start to find love in your hearts to start doing what all these teachers wanted you to do. To love, to share, to care. So, this is why I share what I share with regards to the Bible and esoterics and everything else I do. And I share my thoughts and feelings. It's because I have a hope that people will raise themselves up out of that lower level of human consciousness, the one that's filled with fear and anxiety and hatred and anger, and come into a place which is filled with love and giving and sharing. And if people can do that, then the world will change. It'll change, and it'll change fast. But it won't change while people are dwelling in fear. And that includes those people seeking God, and in doing so become so scared that someone else is not doing as their God would have literally told them to do in a book. If you follow Christ, then do as Christ taught and put love first. If you follow Christ and you're sharing fears and anxiety and anger, then I suggest you work on some sort of way to develop that away from yourself so you can be more like Christ. So, right, anyway, I'm going to get off. Bye, guys.
So many gods, but no love for the people. My mama told me that we're all made equal. What we're fighting for, why we're still at war. Where's the love, yeah. So many prayers here, but where's the prayer for peace? My papa told me that we all must serve and feed. What we fighting for, why we're still at war. Where's the love,